We've been hearing about self-driving cars for years, haven't we? Feels like it's always just around the corner.
Yeah, perpetually next to your technology.
Exactly. But what might surprise you is that in China, this isn't just, future talk anymore. The shift from testing to actual real-world deployment. It seems to be happening right now and, well, incredibly fast.
That's right. So today we're going to dive deep into the current state of autonomous vehicles, or AVs, in China.
Yeah.
We've sifted through recent articles, expert analysis, all that stuff.
Right.
And the goal is really to give you a clear picture of just how far China has come in this space and, frankly, what it all means.
Okay, so the sources, they point to a real turning point. It's not just these controlled tests anymore. We're seeing AVs actually moving into everyday use. Let's maybe start with robotaxis. Seems like a good place.
Absolutely. And the ambition there is, well, it's pretty striking. Didi Chuxing, the big ride-hailing company, they've launched pilot programs in Shanghai. And they have this stated goal, get this, of deploying 1 million robotaxis by 2030.
1 million. Wow. That's a scale that could genuinely change how cities work, how people get around.
Totally. Fundamentally change urban transport.
But it's not like they're alone in this, right? Baidu is also a big player.
Oh, definitely. Baidu, which most people know as a search engine company, they've actually moved beyond just pilots in cities like Changsha and Qingzhou. The robotaxis, they're already available to the public. You can just use their Do Taxi app.
Okay, so that's quite a step ahead in some ways. It really feels like a proper competitive landscape is forming now, which I guess suggests we're getting closer to wider adoption.
Precisely. And what's interesting is Baidu's platform, Apollo. It's not just for taxis. We're seeing it pop up in other things like 8-seater shuttle buses,
Where are those running?
mostly in controlled spots like parks or the Sheungyan New area you hear about.
Yeah.
But even more significantly, there are robot buses running on actual public bus roads in Changsha now.
Really? On normal routes?
Yep, 10 of them on Route 315, carrying regular passengers. That kind of diversification is a key sign of real progress.
And it's not just moving people either, is it? Sources mention unmanned delivery vehicles, too.
That's another big area. Lots of unmanned delivery vehicles on fixed routes in several cities now. Experts we looked at, they're suggesting pretty significant progress in just the next 1 to 2 years. Maybe even mass deployment within 5 years. That's quick.
That's incredibly quick. So going back to the robotaxi pilots for a second, Didi's Shanghai one, what does that actually look like on the ground?
Right, so Didi's pilot in Shanghai, it covers a specific zone, about 10 square kilometers. It's in the Jiading district, which is strategically near Hangzhou Airport and the F1 circuit, high traffic area.
But it's still quite limited for now. Sources said something like 30 riders a day, mostly pre-booked, often media folks.
That's the key distinction, yes. It's not mass public access yet. But, and this is important, it is a genuine test on public roads, regular traffic conditions.
Yeah.
But yeah, safety protocols are definitely still in place. Safety drivers, engineers in the car. And the early reports suggest they're being pretty cautious. Prioritizing right turns, stopping maybe a bit early for obstacles, keeping space behind other cars, slow speeds.
Standard procedure for early testing, I suppose.
Exactly. But the fact they're doing it on real streets, collecting that real-world data, that's invaluable.
Yeah.
And Didi sticking to that million robotaxi goal by 2030, that signals they're in this for the long haul.
That long-term vision is definitely there. And then you've got Baidu, who seem, well, further along in terms of just letting the public use it.
Yeah, their trials in Changsha, 45 vehicles there, and Qingzhou, they've moved past those limited pre-booked rides. If you're in those cities, you download the Do Taxi app, you can hail one.
Which must put some pressure on Didi, especially now they're entering Shanghai, where Baidu might react. It feels very dynamic.
It really does. And to sort of understand what all this means, it helps to quickly touch on the levels of autonomous driving. The standard scale.
Right. Level 0 to level 5.
Exactly. Level 0 is full driver control. Level 5 is complete automation. No human needed, ever.
And where do these robotaxis and things generally fit?
Generally, level 3 and up is what we call autonomous driving. The big jump, user-wise, is often between level 3 and level 4.
Oh, so?
Well, level 3, the system drives, but the human needs to be ready to take over pretty much instantly fast. Level 4 offers more freedom, but only within specific conditions or areas, what they call the operational design domain, or ODD.
Ah, okay. I remember reading level 3 is allowed in Japan, but the sources said it's very restricted, like slow speeds on highways, specific lanes only.
That's a really important point. It's quite limited there. So level 4, which seems to be the main focus in China right now, still might need a human outside its ODD. But for things on fixed roads, like those robot buses,
Ah, you could potentially run them without a driver.
potentially yes.
Hmm.
With the right infrastructure, remote monitoring, probably using 5G tech. Level 5 is the ultimate goal, full autonomy everywhere. But level 4 is where the practical action is right now across these different sectors in China.
And it sounds like the government, especially local governments, are really pushing this, providing test zones and so on.
Absolutely. There's definitely a sense of a race, you could say, between big cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Changsha, Chongqing,
A race to be the first AV city.
something like that. They want to be leaders in this tech.
Yeah.
And that active support, providing test areas, setting up regulations, it's been a huge factor in how fast things are moving.
Speaking of things moving fast, the sources mentioned something called the Baidu incident. Apparently, it was a bit controversial, but actually helped speed things up.
Yes, that's a fascinating story. It shows how sometimes a misstep can actually spur progress. So Baidu started working on AV tech back around 2015, testing in Beijing, also in California. Then in 2017, they launched the Apollo project.
That's their open source platform, right?
Exactly, designed to get lots of companies involved, share data, accelerate development. Got a lot of attention, positioned them as a major player, like Waymo.
Okay, so what was the incident?
Well, July 2017, Baidu holds this big AI developer conference. They show a video of their self-driving car cruising on Beijing's 5th Ring Road. Baidu's CEO, Robin Lai, is in the passenger seat, hands visibly off the wheel for the driver.
Sounds like a standard tech demo. Show off the progress.
That was the plan, and the engineers loved it, but then things took a turn.
Uh-oh.
A reporter from the Beijing Youth Daily watched the video closely, very closely, and they spotted a couple of potential problems. First, the car seemed to change lanes where it wasn't allowed. A traffic violation. Fine, points on the license.
Okay, oops.
But then they looked at the license plate. It was partly hidden, but looked like maybe a Jiangsu plate ending in E. Now, Beijing has rules about which out-of-province plates can drive inside the 5th Ring Road on which days. Helps manage traffic, pollution.
Right, the restriction days.
Exactly. And on the day the video was supposedly filmed, plates ending in 0 or a letter were restricted. So potential violation number 2.
Ouch. So not just a small slip-up.
Not really. And when the reporter called the traffic authorities, they were like, yeah, we know we're investigating. But the bigger issue that came out was, well, at that time, there weren't actually any specific rules allowing AV testing on public roads in Beijing.
Wait, so they were testing without permission?
Essentially, yes. No clear legal framework for it yet.
That sounds like it could have been a huge problem for Baidu. How did that become a catalyst?
It's kind of paradoxical, isn't it? It forced a conversation. Baidu and the Beijing city authorities had some, let's say, intense discussions. Robin Li took responsibility, paid the fines, took the points. But the crucial outcome was that just a few months later, in December 2017, Beijing's Transport Commission released formal rules for AV road testing.
Wow. So the public attention from the incident directly led to regulations being created.
Pretty much. They laid out exactly how companies could test legally and safely. They specified which roads could be used, mostly the big ring roads, main arteries, avoiding tricky spots like ramps initially. Companies had to get their AVs tested first, like a driving test, at the official vehicle management office.
Okay.
If they passed, they got special 30-day test license plates, which were renewable, but they had to keep proving safety to an expert committee.
Seems thorough. What about the person in the driver's seat?
Mandatory. Had to have an experienced safety driver, minimum 3 years license, clean record, no DUIs or drug offenses. And critically, that safety driver was legally responsible, had to be ready to take over instantly. Plus, companies needed serious insurance, like 5 million yuan minimum liability.
So Beijing went from no rules to a pretty comprehensive safety-first framework very quickly after that Baidu video surfaced. That's quite a turnaround.
It really was. It set the stage. And you can see the impact in the data. The 2019 Beijing AV Road Test Report. It showed 151 roads, over 500 kilometers, approved for testing. 77 vehicles tested, racking up over 1 million kilometers combined.
1 million kilometers on public roads?
Yep. And Baidu did the vast majority of that 52 vehicles, almost 900,000 kilometers. And importantly, 0 reported accidents on those public roads during testing.
That's impressive, due to the cautious approach and safety drivers.
Largely, yes, they were being careful. Now, the report did mention accidents in closed testing facilities.
Ah, so not on public roads.
Correct. On the closed tracks where they pushed the limits more, there were 16 minor accidents in 2019 over about 130,000 kilometers. Things like hitting curbs, signs, test dummies, no injuries. but it shows the difference between cautious public testing and really stressing the system in private.
Got it. So that whole episode, starting with the video, really established the foundation for the robotaxi pilots we're seeing now.
Exactly. Provided that regulatory clarity and built up a huge amount of testing experience.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about robotaxis, but the sources laid out several other areas where AVs are being used in China, almost in a kind of order of progress.
That's a really good way to put it. Based on what we've seen, there are about 7 main areas, each at a different stage. And maybe surprisingly, leading the pack is unmanned cleaning.
Unmanned cleaning. Okay, didn't see that one coming first.
Yeah, maybe not the flashiest, but it makes sense when you think about it. They started early, back in 2017, in closed environments. Think Beijing's Olympic Park. Lower risk, predictable routes. There's this robot called the Snail A from Zigxingje Technology. It's a good example. Drives itself, avoids obstacles, cleans large areas efficiently.
So these are actually working, not just prototypes?
Oh yeah, they're pretty common now. You see them in airports, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Shanghai train stations, malls, office parks, even amusement parks, often working at night.
Makes sense.
And now they're moving into more open public spaces too, like Hangzhou uses them for night street cleaning. They can even spot illegally parked cars and report them.
Huh, multitaskers.
Right. And pilot programs for general road cleaning are starting too. The efficiency argument is strong. One robot apparently does the work of about 6 humans. So it's moving from niche use to becoming quite popular.
Okay, practical. What's next after cleaning?
Logistics in closed spaces. Also pretty far along in the popularization stage. Think factory floors, warehouses. Again, controlled environments.
Fixed routes, less chaos.
Exactly. Ideal for AVs. Like SGMW uses 75 unmanned vehicles from Yushi Technology just to move parts around their car factories.
Right, makes total sense. What about getting goods out of the factory or warehouse, like deliveries to people?
Unmanned delivery. That's reached what the sources call practical use. Companies like Meituan, Ila.me, JD Logistics, Kaniyama, they're making hundreds of these vehicles now. Small-scale production, but happening. JD.com has this cool smart delivery station in Changsha. Packages get loaded into AVs, which then drive themselves to businesses in the tech park.
How do people get their stuff?
They get a notification, go out to the vehicle, scan a QR code, and a little locker pops open with their package. We're even seeing basic unmanned delivery within some big apartment complexes now.
I remember reading about some creative uses too, beyond just dropping off boxes.
Yes. Neolus is doing interesting things. They have these delivery AVs that double as mobile vending machines.
Oh, like an ice cream truck, but robotic?
Kind of. You see them in parks in Beijing and Fuzhou. You just flag one down, use your phone to buy snacks or drinks. They even have 100 of them working at this Sheen Rocket Launch Center.
Wow.
And in Shanghai, there's a pilot with unmanned meal delivery vehicles. They stock breakfast near subway stations in the morning, then move to busy areas later. Plans to scale that up significantly.
That's clever, using their mobility. Okay, so after cleaning, clothes, logistics, and delivery, we get to robot buses.
Robot buses, yeah. These are in formal operation now. Baidu's Apollo platform is in 8-seater buses made by Xiamen Qinglong, running in 30 cities already. By mid-2019, they'd already done over 50,000 kilometers, carried 60,000 passengers.
Where are they mostly running? Still parks?
Initially, yes. Parks, shuttle routes in places like Xiong'an, where regular cars are restricted. But increasingly, you see them as shuttles in big housing estates, on university campuses, factory sites. The fixed routes make it easier technologically and regulation-wise than robotaxis.
But they still usually have a safety monitor on board, right? Which kind of limits the cost savings and flexibility.
That's the main drawback currently. You're absolutely right. The tech is good for the routes, but needing that person on board limits the full benefit. They are experimenting with 5G remote monitoring, one person overseeing maybe 3 buses remotely.
Ah, okay.
But safety concerns, public acceptance for truly driverless buses, that's still a hurdle. Though we are seeing them on actual public roads now, like that Route 315 in Changsha. 10 buses, dedicated lanes, they even talk to the traffic lights. But yes, still with safety monitors for now.
Okay, so then comes robotaxis, which we covered. Sounds like they're seen as the really crucial step for getting the public used to the idea, paving the way for driverless personal transport.
Precisely. They're the bridge to mainstream acceptance and the path towards fully unmanned operations in that sphere.
And then big trucks, long-haul logistics.
That's further down the list in terms of widespread deployment. Level 4 tech exists. Companies like TuSimple, Plus.ai are testing on public roads. But fully unmanned long-haul trucking, it's trickier. Still need safety drivers for most tests. Plus, routes aren't always fixed, and getting reliable 5G everywhere for remote oversight on long routes is a challenge. So, mostly used in semi-closed places like ports or mines for now.
Got it. And finally, just regular passenger cars that people own seem to be the furthest behind in getting full autonomy rolled out widely.
That's the assessment, yeah. The tech is improving constantly, obviously, but putting truly autonomous features into millions of privately owned cars for use everywhere is lagging behind these more focused commercial applications.
So let's zoom out. If unmanned driving really takes hold on a massive scale in China, what are the big ripple effects?
Oh, the potential impact is huge. Transformative. Think about unmanned robotaxis. Could we see a big drop in people owning cars? Mobility becomes a subscription service.
Like Netflix for getting around.
Kind of, yeah. And think about cities. If fewer people own cars, maybe we need way less space for parking. That could
Yeah.
totally change urban design. The way these robotaxis might work is maybe they gather in suburbs overnight, then AI sends them into the city based on predicted demand during the day.
It sounds very sci-fi, but the sources mention Xiong'an new area is actually being built with this stuff in mind.
That's right. Xiong'an is planned as a smart city from scratch, and autonomous mobility is central to that vision. They're talking about potentially designing cities without traditional traffic lights or crosswalks.
How would that even work?
Vehicles talking directly to each other, V2V communication,
Oh.
sophisticated sensors detecting pedestrians, optimizing flow constantly. It's ambitious. But the widespread use of robotaxis by Baidu and Didi, that's seen as the key to getting people comfortable with the idea, making that future seem possible.
Incredible stuff. What's actually making all this rapid progress possible in China? What are the key ingredients?
Several things stand out. A really big one is the domestic production of LiDAR.
LiDAR, the laser sensors.
Exactly. Crucial tech for AVs. And making it domestically has slashed the cost, like down to maybe a quarter or even a tenth of what it used to cost just a few years ago.
And that makes putting it on lots of vehicles affordable.
Precisely. Mass deployment becomes economically viable. Another huge factor is just getting vehicles out there early, real-world testing, even limited deployment. Because you collect so much data from complex, unpredictable, real situations, way more than you can ever simulate or get on a test track.
Right, training the AI on messy reality. The sources mentioned that Waymo crashed back in 2016, highlighting how hard it is to teach AI all the weird things humans do in traffic.
Exactly. Real-world driving, dealing with edge cases, learning from experience that's absolutely vital for reaching true autonomy. And in that respect, China's push for active testing and early deployment across all these sectors, it's given them a real edge in gathering that critical data. Remember those expert predictions. Mass deployment in several sectors in 1-2 years, widespread adoption in 5. It's ambitious, but based on this momentum.
So unmanned taxis being common in Chinese cities within, say, 10 years. That's actually looking plausible now, not just science fiction.
It seems increasingly likely, yes, moving from sci-fi towards reality.
So wrapping this up, our deep dive really shows China isn't just tinkering with autonomous vehicles anymore. They're actively and rapidly pushing towards mass deployment in lots of different areas. It's a major shift beyond just experiments. Hopefully this conversation has given you, the listener, a much clearer sense of where things stand and just how transformative this could all be.
Which really brings us to the final thought. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How might this widespread adoption of AVs, especially the fully unmanned ones, truly reshape our cities, our daily travel, maybe even how we think about personal freedom in space, not just in China, but globally? What are the unexpected challenges or maybe the surprising opportunities that might pop up as this tech becomes woven into the fabric of our lives? Something to think about.